George, let's listen from George. And George, I wanted you to share basically, African countries have different currencies right now. Even the GDP is different. And you just know generally the challenge with the African countries. So, and when we are planning these kind of things, we also want to look at how are these agreements going to benefit, what business opportunities will it provide to the small scale businesses, maybe small scale entrepreneurship, looking at also the larger foreign business in Africa. Just share with us that perspective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is George, Justice Kanyihamba, and I'm a simple man, as you can see me. I'm a national coordinator at Student for Liberty Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. And I'm so happy to meet the multicultures. So, thank you for that question. And what I want to share about that question is that as libertarians, first of all, we have been advocating for free market trade. And when we speak about free market trade, we mean that governments are going to make sure that they cut the barriers to trade. And when we speak about the AFTA, we are talking about intra-Africa trade. We are talking about country-to-country trade. We are not talking about Africa trading with Europe. So, right now as we speak, we can look at how we import goods here in Africa, in Uganda, in Kenya. We import many goods. For example, cars. These cars are actually degrading the environment. And when we talk about the sustainable development goals, that means that we are actually not in line with the sustainable development goals. That's the reason as to why that AFTA is coming up to make Africa a global powerhouse. And when you look at 2018, the 2018 Index of Global Competitiveness, all 10 countries in the African continent were able to rank among the 100 countries which are competitive on the global scales. And that one, I would like to applaud Kenya is among the countries. And we're looking at East Africa, only Kenya is the country which ranks among the 100 countries, and even Kenya is not among the 10 countries. Okay? Is among the 100 countries that compete globally on the global standards. South Africa, and we look at North Africa and other countries. And we are saying that since Africa has the resources, in these countries that are carrying out industrialization, that countries that are venturing into technology, countries that are venturing into production, they are getting the raw materials here. At the end of the day, they import the products from Europe. So we are saying that we can create this if we have the good policies, if we have the free market policies, if we cut the import duties, if we cut the cost of starting up a business. Here in Uganda, back home, to start up a business or to register a company, I have a company, but it took me 5 years to register this company. Why? Because before even you start a company here in Uganda, you have to pay taxes more than what you're going to earn. Okay? So they say you are going to work a lot. It means that government fears people to become rich. Government, because when you become rich, of course, you have democracy. You have to fight the government. You have to finance politics. So what I'm trying to say is that Uganda, with its own liquid, in fact, Uganda was ranked by the World Bank as one of the most entrepreneurial countries in the world. But guess what? Most of its businesses do not survive beyond the first birthday. You know what that means? There are many people who are creative, who are innovative, but the policies of the government are not enabling the entrepreneurs in Uganda. If you visit Uganda and go to Kiur, go to Nakasero, and I believe I've seen this in Kenya as well, there are many women selling things, they are so entrepreneurial, they are creative, but can their business really sustain? To pay the taxes, first of all, to also the cost of running that business as well. And I want to give an example of Tesla, because Tesla is a company that is using lithium, and lithium is lithium batteries is an electric car, and the lithium components are actually mined in Africa, and they are taken to Europe to actually come up with electric vehicles. But Africa, we don't know this. So when we look at Zimbabwe, it is Zimbabwe Harare. It has lithium depots over 11 million tons of lithium. How comes that these countries cannot really cooperate, because even when I was coming in Uganda, there was no free movement. I have to be checked like I'm a foreigner. Last time I was the airport, but they checked me and I got tired. They checked me like 10 times as if I'm a terrorist. They put in a screen, after screen, remove the shoes, after shoes, remove the belt, after the belt. If it was my mother there in the local village, she cannot accept that. She travel once, she says, I'll never travel again. Because for her, she's not used. She's always in the market. And you're telling her that, please, remove your shoe. After, remove this. So I believe this kind of removing the trade barriers, free movement of people, it is going to enable Africans to trade. Right now, I'm networking with different people from different countries, and I know we can start up businesses in technology. Look at India. India is ranked among the global economies. By 2050, India is going to be India and China because of its population, first of all, and because of its industrialization and innovation of young people. They are going to be having a large economy, more than the United States.
We have oil, yes, but we don't produce it within our country. And due to putting into force this, we are saying currently the tariff have reduced at the border, and we are able to receive goods from Kenya freely. We are able to receive goods from Uganda freely, and this has increased our GPD in the sense that our the gross domestic products is also pushing up to the extent that our economy is strengthening and is gaining strength in some extent. And I'm saying it is because the free market, a continental free market, is put into force by the African top leadership. Two, it is also differs from the rest of the economy in the sense that our own entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs in Africa, will be able to interact freely. Like an entrepreneur from Kenya can move from Kenya to Uganda, from Uganda to Tanzania, and to the rest of African countries. You'll be able to share your ideas. You'll be able to start into the mind of the young people how to start their small-scale businesses and how it can help them generate incomes and build and strengthen the economy at home. Therefore, if we are to do this, which I realized, and I'm quite sure in the African Agenda 2063, into the Africa we want, we shall realize that African economy will be the best economy globally when put this into force. Third, it's also in a sense of poverty reduction. Why? Poverty reduction. I will not be ashamed to say we have 10 states and 3 administrative areas, and out of the 10 states and 3 administrative areas, the greater Upper Nile currently is struggling with issues related to food, but if this is put into force exactly the way it is wanted, it is going to generate local incomes and encourage local farmers at the continental level, at the different countries, and therefore we will be able to produce at our locality and eradicate poverty as Africa instead of relying on humanitarian foods and other things that doesn't help us. So literally this is how a smaller section of how our free market trade differs that of Europe and that of Asia. The time people is becoming serious. Lastly, I also want to say it will empower our businesses. In Uganda, they have a lot of factories that are not there with us. We have only water factories. We have factories for beer. We produce soda locally. We don't take it out. It is our own. But if this is put into force, we shall also be able to get expertise from Uganda, expertise from Kenya, and expertise from other parts of Africa that will be coming to countries like South Sudan, Somalia, Burundi, Djibouti, and train our local entrepreneurs to embark into factories. And I'm quite sure if this is achieved, South Sudan will have the highest production of milk. I am telling you, if we are to look into the number of cows that we have great number of cows, but no one is bringing this into force because they're supposed to be processing our milks. We will not buy from Kenya, we will not buy from Uganda, we'll be buying from our own, and that will empower our local businessmen. I think, even 5 minutes. Did I manage it?
Yes. And Joel, I want you to look at this in this way, that in Africans, we have always managed to showcase that, like we do, like a ceremony, we just show things, we feel proud, but when actually in the ground, there is nothing. And it is like one of the professors in Kenya, Professor, I think that is Micheal, who said that we come up with so many things. When we fail, we change the name. Just like the Millennium Development Goal, when we fail, we change it now to Sustainable Development Goal. We are going to fail, I don't know what we are going to. And now this, we come up with initiative without looking at the shortcomings. Some of them could have started even facing the after. Some might be coming soon. So if we would highlight if there are some of the challenges that we're seeing, maybe in policy, maybe in geographical location, just like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Once again, I'm Gerald, Limonya, the National Coordinator for Kenya, and it has to go down to records that I'm a Christian. Now, for this matter, I think I'll accept and I'll actually agree with you that there are several barriers, there are several problems that we as Africa, we as East Africa, and even the world are facing to bring the free economy home. Just as my fellow panelist has alluded, he is bringing several issues that we are facing as Kenya or even other East Africa. I have a good number, but I've just condensed them to a bit 5, since I'm having 5 minutes. One serious problem or hindrance is the poverty. You will agree with me that poverty is one disease to freedom, and is one of the diseases that are hindering forward movement or development. A good number of youths, a good number of citizens are sinking down in the poverty because they can't actually put food on the table, they can't actually sustain themselves. How can they help in the development or in the market sector? So the government or their economy has to be uplifted by bringing almost 100 million individuals out of the poverty lane. So poverty is one pound in our free economy inflation relationship that we have to fight with before we say that we're making progress. The second idea or the second hindrance that we are having is political interference. In my country, Kenya, politics will never end. We will only be changing faces and we'll be proceeding. Just the other year, we were in our general election, and you believe me, it is still on the political era because the forums are still being undertaken. So this is something that are actually hindering our progress and are slowing down our pace for this free market. The politicians who are supposed to be concentrating on other essential ideas are the ones who are on top of the vehicles and waving to the people, telling them how they're supposed to be done. And remember, they plan in the offices and they can't execute these things in reality. So they're bringing paperwork, much of the paperwork, and telling you how this thing is going to be visualized, but actually, in the real sense, it doesn't come. The politicians are blindfolding us. We have to accept that these people, they're just the same people, just changing faces, but they're just the same people. So political interference is also one activity that is hindering this progress of the free market. The other thing that I have to talk about is the domain. You talk about it as I'll term it as interdependence. We, in Africa, we believe that if you don't talk of the dollars, then we are not talking of money. So we are depending on the foreign aid or the foreigners much more than expanding our domestic base or domestic production. So we one interest that we are supposed to be focusing on production or manufacturing of our products and marketing them beyond our borders, other than just waiting for grants, waiting for some donations from somewhere for us to progress. We can manage with the little that we have as a country, as a nation or as a continent, other than waiting for the foreigners to come and help us or aid. Remember, at that point of time that we are waiting for them or we are inviting their ideas, is one place that we are losing the battle. The second thing, or the second one, or the fourth one in this matter, I can talk about the excessive bureaucracies. My fellow national coordinator has talked about removing of belts, removing of what in the borders. So there's several bureaucracy in the border that before you import this or before you take this product from your country to the next or the neighboring country, you have to follow all the lengthy processes that might even actually want to bring it to action. It is also one of the interests that we have to talk about, that such bureaucracies have to be reduced. They have to actually be toned down to make this process habitable. Finally, is poor infrastructure. We are still here. We have not been left by this because we talk about the infrastructure, the roads, and all sorts of the infrastructure, which we are planning to be having a good number, but we're not yet there. So I'll finalize my submission by saying that such things are what are still holding us hostage for development, even in our continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Daud, I think Joel has highlighted so many challenges, and libertarians are here and they're always grateful to us. I'm very sure that as we are picking up this topic, we had already gone through also the after things, and I'm sure that there are solutions that libertarians can provide, or some of them might have also been implemented. We could just share from the perspective of a libertarian, because we have had these things several times. We could have learned experience from the COMESA, we could have learned experience from the East African community. Maybe we have learned something and we can use what we have learned to improve after. So what could be some of the possible solutions in a libertarian perspective for these challenges that Joel has raised? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter, and I appreciate the past speakers for what they have presented. I'm Gerald, a national coordinator in Tanzania. I advocate for African Continental Free Trade Area, and I've been a part for the research that we have done in Tanzania. Almost in 5 borders. We were exploring to see how easy the process of doing business across the border good, or how the environment are. So I can assure, or I can confirm, like what George has said, if you want to register a company, for example, in Tanzania for now, you need to have a briefcase that you can carry the documents that are needed in different regulations. But not only that, but there are cumbersome procedures when you want to register the company. You go to more than 10 regulations, and they ask you the same questions, the same documents. So the issues are repetitive. But when you want also to cross the border, for example, in Africa, you need 97 hours for intra-continental trade if you want to cross the border, if you're a business people. But in EU, it's only 80 days. So you can see the difference between Africa and other countries. So I'm just sharing this experience, but from the mentioned challenges, we have so much challenges when we want to implement or to expect this after. For example, for Tanzania, we ratified the after on 2021, but the implementation has not yet started. It is the same to other African countries that we have ratified, but we're not yet to start the implementation because of the challenges that we have now in our countries or in Africa in general. And one of the challenges that George has mentioned, it is the poor infrastructure. Our roads, our ports, and all transportation system are not good. So what I can say, the first one is to improve our infrastructure, starting from IT infrastructure, that we need to automate our systems when we want to do the business. And the good solution for that is the AFTA. AFTA is coming with the online mechanism that if you are a trader or a business people, you want to cross a border from Tanzania to Malawi maybe, and you counter any problem or any NTB, I mean non-tariff barrier, you are supposed to report it online, and the focal person in the respective country will help you immediately. So it is you communicating with the system and not you communicating directly with the government officials who will attract you or will want you maybe to pay some money or to attack the corruption. That's one. But another issue is to reduce the cost of doing business in our countries. As I mentioned, you need 97 hours, for example, to cross the border. But when you want to register the company, for example, in Tanzania, you need almost more than 1 year or more than 3 months if you want to register a startup. Just you came fresh from the school and want to register the company. So you can see the costs are high and the process to register are high, and even the documents that are needed in the process, they are very high. So what is needed is to simplify the process of doing the business by reducing the cost, the process, and other issues that are needed to start the business. But another issues I want to address the issues of unpredictable policies that are put into place when we want to do a business. We have the government that they think that they can decide everything for us. So someone can wake up tomorrow and say, okay, today, if you want to cross the border from Tanzania to Kenya, you have to pay the tariffs maybe this one. But when you come another day, you'll find out that there is another amount that is not expected, that is NTBs. So what we need a policy that can mitigate or can improve or can put us into place that we can pay or we can negotiate or can benefit from the business. And another issue is what I want to add, I think will be the last event. We need to address the multiple membership. For example, now, if we talk about the regional economic communities, Kenya is involved in 5 regional economic communities. So this complicates the integration efforts. But if we want only the AFTA, all efforts will be focused on the AFTA, and it will be easy for us, either youth or anyone who wants to do the business, to get the support from the system itself or from the community that is offering the same thing that you can find from COMESA, from SADC, because all of them, they are doing the same thing. And what AFTA is going to do is going to use those blocks to build the AFTA prosperity in Africa. So thank you so much, because I have few time. I want to share this.
Thank you so much. I think let's clap for our panelists. And at this point, I think we can accept maybe 3 questions. And questions, not comment. Thank you so much. I've seen a good number. So we shall, let it be a question, not a comment. 1 minute. It should not go beyond 1 minute if you have a question. And all these guys that are still around, we can just get the blessed 4 or 5. The rest you will get your gifts or maybe your years later. Not so?
Okay, alright.
5. Yes, 5.
Put it up. So, respectfully,
Let it be gender balance.
Yeah, to be gender balance, but I just cannot take every question. Don't have that time. I'll take 3. I'll take 3. And I'll take the lady over there.
Try to mix all the 4 countries.
Okay. I'll take the gentleman, number 2, and just give me your hand. Don't.
This, Sudan is there. Kenya. Then
So I've already taken Sudan.
Sudan is taken. Kenya is taken.
I've taken Kenya.
Tanzania. Uganda.
I'll take half of Tanzania. Uganda. Alright. So
Yes.
I'm not taking local coordinators. Just
Please.
local coordinators.
1 minute.
Who's the nearest to me?
Okay, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. First of all, I would like to congratulate our coordinator, our country coordinator, for wonderful work and explanation concern about these African issues. For my concern, I would like to hear from Mr. Micheal question is, I would like to hear your recommendation or mitigation to our fellow youth or African. What are we supposed to do besides of our challenge or problem we are facing? It's in your own way, or what you think as youth, what are we supposed to do besides of our problem and environment we are facing it?
Thank you. Thank you, please. I've said 1 minute for each. Let's get all the
Also,
questions, then I
we
give.
get all. If it's addressed to you, you be sure to get it.
Even some of the most compelling reasons as to why African states are not powerful economically compared to the superpower states. Let's call a spade, not a big spoon. I have an issue with the superpower states. You tell me, what do you think about this interference by the superpower states? Bring about Muhammad Gaddafi. Why was he killed? He was advocating for this currency, something to do with that. You've talked about a common currency. So this question is for you, David. Interference by superpower states. Talk about that. Thank you.
Please go. David or Joy?
Operations of businesses and trade in the region. Next is my brother, Joel. You compared and contrasted African population to India as one of the reasons for giving them an opportunity for economic progress. As the younger generation, what solution would you propose to our people to have an effective and stable population that can enably compete in the global market? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think your last question is for George. You're the one you talked about the population thing. Yes? Next. That is the last one.
Hello, Fatma Mahmoud Sani from Kenya, and I think for me when we started the topic, the first thing that came to my mind was infrastructure, and Joel sort of mentioned it, and the biggest barrier that comes in terms of trade in Africa is infrastructure. How do you guys think that it should be more of an African for African infrastructure in such a way that how can I be able to get a beautiful Swana dress from Botswana to Kenya and be able to sell it at very affordable prices that people in middle and low background can be able to buy such? Because if we decide to compare maybe the plane ticket, for me to be able to move from Nairobi to Gaborone in Botswana, it will cost me roughly 162,000 Kenyan shillings, which is almost the same as the plane ticket for me to be able to move from Nairobi to Osaka City in Japan, which is 163,000. So moving goods among African countries becomes a bit of a difficulty because of poor infrastructure. How do you guys think as Africans, as the future leaders, and as we speak to our leaders, how will we be able to talk about Africa for Africa infrastructure, for Africans to be able to see infrastructure as the key to have one of the greatest trade and basically everything concerning a good economy? Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's the last question.
I don't know why I was given the most questions. For that case, I believe I was given little time. After here, I think we can engage more and see how we can discuss this. But I want to address these questions. First of all, Janet from Tanzania asked, what can we do as youth? I think this is not related to what we are talking about today, but I can help answer. Right now, do you know a cheetah? You know a cheetah, and you know a hippo. So here we are, young people, we are a cheetah generation, as said by George Aite, one of the libertarian philosophers. The cheetah generation means that young people are always creating solutions, are always thinking are always innovative. And now they are competing with the hippos who do not want to see the change. Now, since you are in the cheetah generation and you are part of the cheetah generation, it means that it is the right time for you to wake up, innovate in any field you want. Right now, as I'm speaking, I didn't study media, but I'm a founder of African Justice Media. So your education should not limit you. Your papers should not limit you, but your thinking. Think of an idea. Reach out to people who can help you achieve that. Have role models, because all of us here have mentors and we have role models. You want to start up something, don't wait for a job, because I know we have a high rate of unemployment here in Africa. So why do you wait for a job? Start up something. We are talking about Continental free market area, but what are you going to sell in this market? So as we prepare for the free trade area, please prepare yourself and how best you are going to sell a product in the Continental free trade area.
Thank you.
I have another question. Another question, if I can recall, is from Mayor from Uganda. He says, what do we have to think about peace and security? First of all, this, you didn't mention about the problem that the free trade area is going to face. It is peace and security. Part of Ethiopia has instability, part of South Sudan has insecurity, and we know that trade cannot exist without peace. Right now we are integrating even when it comes to security. We have AMISOM, which is a peacekeeping security. We have the UN. All these are trying to do what they can. And AMISOM is actually, Uganda is part of the AMISOM, which is actually trying to bring peace in South Sudan, in Somalia, and parts of Ethiopia. So I think the combination and cooperation of not only economies, but even the army and the security, they can keep peace in security. And lastly, as libertarians, we believe in free trade as a limit to war. Because countries that trade together, that's why we see even intermarriages. Countries that have economic ties, they will never fight. Countries that trade, they would rather use trade as a limit instead of having a war. So we advocate for peace instead of war. So you join Students for Liberty and learn more about these ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Gerald, the 2 minutes is for all the answers.
Okay, I would like to respond to the last question about the infrastructure, and I would like to respond according to the after perspective. Yeah, it's true that if I want to do a business, for example, I want to import goods from USA or from Turkey or from China to Kenya, it's more easy than getting the same product from Tanzania or from Rwanda. So the problem is there is NTBs that we have mentioned, and these NTB are coming in different ways. For example, in transport, there is high cost on transportation. It doesn't mean that we don't have roads or we don't have flights or don't have other means of transportation. It is because that there are regulations that are forcing the owner of the transportation means to put more to put more cost when you want to do a business or when you want to transport either your service or your product. So what I would like to say is that we need to put more pressure on telling the people that AFTA is existing and encouraging the people that can change the policies and all of the issues that are directly or are connected to the infrastructure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Michael?
I was asked
2 minutes.
to give a recommendation. My recommendation is going to be like this. Whether you are a Kenyan, Tanzanian, a South Sudanese, or from any other part of Africa, I am encouraging the young people to embark on the journey of social networking, to interact with youth of different countries. And one of the platforms is becoming a local coordinator from different countries, a member of the Students for Liberty. That will help you have a platform where you can interact with different people from different parts of Africa. Two, I am also encouraging you to create platforms in your own countries that work with platforms of other. We have what we call the Young Global Leaders Network, a South Sudan chapter. It's helping us connect with our youth in West Africa. And I'm so glad some of our youth comes to Kenya, they go to Uganda, they go to Burundi to connect. And this is a very important thing. We share ideas, interact, and at the end of the day, we come up with resolutions that would be able to help our African countries. And with 1 minute, sorry. Lastly, I want to say, let us forget the ideology of tribes. If honestly we forget the ideology of tribes, and I am from this country, let us believe we are African, regardless of our countries, our identities, but our identity should only be one. We are African young people that are working for the prosperity of the continent. And that is my last recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Joel, within 2 minutes.
Okay, fine, thank you. I believe my first 2 minutes are now beginning from now. Now, I think my questions were surrounding around one, the infrastructure that I talked about, and the second one was talking about now the political interference. I will actually say that if you talk about the political interference, I'll say that each country should be running their affairs independently. So leave a country to run its affairs independently. We all know, I'm sorry to say this, what the Ugandans are facing, but we can only be giving solutions, but we can't actually go and begin talking about giving them that let's do this and let's do this. So the country, like we as a country, should actually be focusing in developing the economy and equally taking it to the borders, beyond the borders, and not actually getting concerned with what is happening in another country. Each and every individual should not be tipping the nose and on somebody's activities. If you talk about the infrastructure actually very pertinent because it's one thing that is going to be gearing our development. I have to say that in somewhere like Qatar, we have an electric train passing after every 3 minutes. And this is possible. With the countries under our management, like the political management, we can have anything possible. When Kenya brought this issue of the SGR, we were like saying, is it really possible? And here it is. So a country can actually bring an idea to a reality if they are serious. If they are actually up to the task, they can actually bring it. My last one is that let's up our game as Africa. Let's bring development into reality and live stories all again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I want to believe that our panelists have done justice to all the questions. And maybe we give them the last upload. And then I would request that the panelists, let's have good photos as they organize the next people to join the study. Thank you so much.